Oh,
Now I'm very live.
now you're
Okay.
like, okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
okay.
Sorry about that, y'all. I'm learning this thing. I'm gonna get it right. I clicked the button, but I guess I didn't do the follow
It
through, which
takes
is very
practice.
important.
It takes a minute.
So again, I'm here with my very special guest and dear friend, Norma Hollis. I almost said Coach Norma. Norma was the first coach that I had.
Yes.
Uh, and I learned so much, and it was an amazing experience that way. And then also just our friendship that we've built over the years. So, Norma, you are an authenticity expert, is what I like to say. So, it's a buzzword now. Everybody's talking about authenticity. You hear it everywhere you go. But I'd like to hear from you if you could tell us exactly what is authenticity in the way that you see it.
I've heard it expressed very nicely from a gentleman who has a song called Authenticity. And he says it's about keeping joy in your spirit. And that's exactly what authenticity is. I refer to it a lot as the integration of the tangible part of life with the intangible part of life. Because in reality, our society will make us think that only thing that exists is what you can see and touch. But there's so much more than that. And
Mhm.
authenticity brings all of that together. Authenticity is about using your natural gifts and talents, the ones that God gave, ones you were born with, and using them in your everyday life. It's about stepping away from living a manufactured life on autopilot and
Mm,
actually living the life that was designed for you specifically. It's also about having a keen eye for the common good, not just being willy nilly authentic because you just like being a bad person or whatever, but it's really having an eye for being concerned about humanity as a whole and choosing actions that support the growth of humanity. So it's kind of all of those things. It's also the
mm.
general definitions they give you of sincere and honest and trustworthy. But I go so much deeper than that, and I'll go even deeper as we talk. But that's a basic overview of what it is. Yeah.
I love it, and I love that you said that it's about the good that you can do for humanity. Because a lot of times people take the term authenticity, and because it's about being your authentic self, then they look at it in a selfish kind of way. It's like, I
Yeah.
get to be this way, and this is my authentic self. When in fact, a lot of times that's not really your authentic self. Because your authentic self, would you say it's your best self?
I would say it's your best self. This society really, you mentioned, it's people are selfish everywhere. People are taught to be. They're conditioned. The manufactured part of life teaches you to be selfish. Look out for yourself
Mhm.
only. But authenticity is with a view for the bigger picture. There's a gentleman named Michael Drew who is an author and literary agent, and he has a book called Pendulum, where he and his co-writing partner, Mr. Williams, did research on human nature over 3,000 years. And what they reported is that there's a pendulum shift that we go 40 years this way and 40 years that way. So we go 40 years focusing on me and how great I am, and 40 years focusing on we and how great we can be together. And when I heard him speak about it, the word that he used most to describe the current cycle that we're in, which is the we cycle, was the word authenticity. Because
Mhm.
collectively, we are seeking more authenticity. If you look at the events of 2020 with Black Lives Matter and coronavirus, all as challenging as those were, it opened up some gateways and vehicles for us to unite in a way that we had not before. And so that
Absolutely.
brought us to connect with our collective authenticity in a new way. So it's very much the we, and it's very much the collective part of what we can
Mhm.
do for humanity as as a group of people being authentic together.
Mhm. I love the idea of that pendulum because when I think about it, I think back to what was it? Was it the 70s? That was the me generation, and everybody was about uh, you know, my way, and really proud about it, and it wasn't just a few people. It was like the collective consciousness
Collective,
at that
yes.
time. And
Hmm.
so I think you're absolutely right. Like now, I definitely can see the we. And even though some tragic things had to happen to get us here, I definitely see it manifesting. And you almost have to be living in your authentic self to be giving, right?
Yes, you do. It's so
When you talk
important.
about Yeah, go ahead.
No, I mean, just you just reiterating what you're saying. Being authentic is it's a sacrifice. It doesn't just happen. You know, people say all the time, "I just be authentic." Like you can go to sleep and wake up in the morning and I'm authentic today, but it's but it takes time because you have to kind of undo all the manufactured living that you were taught. Because
Hmm.
you know, going back as early as your preschool years, when you love to sing and you sing in your mama's house, and mama says, "Shut up," because you're too loud and I'm tired, you know. And
Hmm.
so whatever it is, it pushes you back from what's authentically natural for you. So by the time you get to be 20 years old in your parents' house for 20 years or thereabouts, you know, you have gained the values that your family lived with, which may not be your values, but you don't know
Right.
that yet. You don't even know that yet.
I
So
love
it's
it.
uncomfortable, but you get out there in the world. I remember when I went to college, which is the first time, you know, with people from a different environment. You know, I mean, actually go to high school, that starts, and then college is even more. And excuse me, in my college, in Michigan University, I had girls in my college who had never ever even seen a black person before. So talk
Wow.
about cultural shifting. And then they realize, oh, you're just like we are. You're just a different color.
Mm.
What's the big deal? You know. So those are the things that you don't know if you don't expose yourself and get out beyond the narrowness of your upbringing, which is usually very narrow in one environment, in one household, with one
Sure.
sense of the world. So it's just authenticity. Authenticity means moving beyond that and really step into what's truly within yourself.
It's like shedding layers. It's like mama puts a layer on you with her ideas and what she brought from her family of origin. Then daddy brings and puts his. Grandma puts her layer on you. Grandpa, aunts and uncles, the
The
teachers.
teachers, the ministers, you know,
Yeah.
the
Oh,
neighbors, all
yes.
of that. Yes.
And those are all experiences as well. Like how you experience each one of those people
Mhm.
can be like putting on a bunch of jackets to prepare for winter.
Yes. Yes. And when
So
it's
then
going to get cold if
authenticity
you don't have the
is
right jacket.
yes, yes. So authenticity is like preparing for summer. You
Yeah.
shed the layers.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. I like that idea.
Yeah. I like
So
it
you
too.
you talk about helping deepen self-awareness, and of course that would be done through finding an authentic place to start and going deeper. But what do you mean when you say you help expand consciousness?
Well, what I find that people really appreciate about my teachings is the way that I bring in the existential part of life. So we don't talk about that much in a general environment. But in reality, life is not made up just of what you can see and touch. We have unseen supporters, I call them, whether we call them ancestors or Holy Spirit or guides or universe or God, whatever we call it. There is some energy that is in us and outside of us
Hmm.
that has a bearing on how we live our lives. So when I say the raising of consciousness, it's helping people see themselves from different perspectives, helping them to recognize the existential in and around them and embrace it and become comfortable with it and see how it lives in their life. I give people a lot of practical exercises to really connect with that existential part of themselves. And I find that they really appreciate it. They appreciate going down a path that they maybe have never been down before or never even knew existed. And I
Hmm.
find it every time I teach a training program, there are people who are just blown away by a new way of looking at themselves and gain new views of themselves. And the one thing that 100% of them gain is more confidence. They walk away just more sure because they've had questions answered that they did not even know how to ask. And it gives them
Hmm.
this confidence in who they are and how they're living their lives.
I love
Yeah.
that. Yes, I have definitely experienced that, having the questions that I didn't know how to ask. And,
Mhm.
I think Norma was one of the first people to say out loud, maybe not discover, but to say out loud that I had 9 people living inside of me.
Yes, ma'am. I recognize them real quickly, very easily. But that's, because of my studies, what I found is that there's 9 energies within us that impacts our authenticity. So,
Hmm.
people think there's one voice or one energy, but who really knows? So that's what I've studied in a way that maybe other people have not. to recognize that there are frequently many voices and many energies within you. And our
Mm,
job is to understand and to manage them. When we talk
that's
about authenticity, it's about managing your energies so that you can be authentic and recognizing that you're not perfect. I've never really worked in corporate America, but I'm told that the expectation is that you be perfect in your position. But there's
oh
no
yeah.
such thing as perfection. And when you expect perfection, you only create challenges for yourself. A true leader, and I teach authentic leadership, recognizes where their vulnerabilities are, where their gaps are, and seeks to fill them, not try to be them. That's not authentic. If you're trying to be something that you're not, then you're stepping away from your zone of genius, your superpower. Why not get
Mm,
to your superpower is what yours is not? And collectively, look how much more you can accomplish rather than trying to step into something and learn something that's not yours to learn. It's
I
too much.
love that.
There's too much in life to learn. So why you have to learn all of it? You just have to have it around you so that it's available. And the people that you
Hmm.
trust and who love and trust you.
Yeah. I haven't done that much corporate work myself, but I recognized early on it was not for me.
Me either.
Um, I either got fired or quit. And I know that I feel like this is the most authentic I've ever been,
Mhm.
in the space that I'm in now and the way that I'm living. Um, in terms of getting to do what I love to do and getting to do it my way and
Right.
discovering all these different ways that actually I can call my way, and not having to temper that for anyone and that sort of thing. And so I think that a lot of authenticity comes with maturity as well.
It does. It comes with time. It takes time to step into it, to really be in it. Some people are lucky enough to step into it early. They recognize
Mhm.
what's going on. But what I find is around 40 to 50 is when people really get itching to get authentic, because that's when they have been in life long enough. Because at 20s, you're grown, but you don't know anything. You're still your
Right.
parents now. You haven't been in the world long enough to really understand. And even at 40, you really haven't in some ways. But you understand at that point that, hey, something ain't right. They told me that this was the right job for me, but it's nothing like what I prepared for. Not my degree. I'm doing something totally different. The kids are getting out and they're empty. You're empty nesting because they're about to go to college. You've been around long enough, and you realize the relationship or ships that you have been in. I mean, is this all it is? Really, this is it? So it's like, so what am I going to do next? What's my life really about? And that's
Right.
what women, particularly 40s to 50s, are realizing. Well, I need to shift something. This is not work. This is not what I want to do the next 40 to 50 years. How do I shift? And that's when authenticity begins to just start knocking.
Hmm.
Well, what about the me that's in here and can't get out? Let me out, let
Right.
me out.
Locked
Let
up,
me
locked
do what
up.
I need to do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. So how do you because I know you had some programs that you were working with younger people and even teens at one point,
Yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So
Yeah, but
how do you tailor that?
how do I?
How do you tailor it for teens? Because I think
Well,
it's wonderful for them to learn, a little bit about themselves, because that's when, you know, identity versus confusion happens, according to Erickson, right?
yeah,
I know you know that, former educator.
well, confusion kind of stays around for a long time. Really, it comes out
Yes, it
early
does.
and it stays a lot longer. But what we do with the youth is we do it through a games approach. So we teach self-awareness by giving them different games that allows them to connect with themselves and see it in a different way. We have one in particular called the Masquerade game that helps them look at their gifts and talents and how they may have been masking them for a while, and how they
Mhm.
can move them forward, and how they can use their gifts for a future job. To look at, because what happens with parents so often is when they're helping their child determine a career path, the parents look at what's up and coming in life, and this is good for my child.
Mhm.
But what I recommend parents do is look at who is your child, what are your child's gifts and talents, and how do those gifts and talents work in the world. One thing parents do not know You don't know what the world's going to be like when your child gets to be 40 or 50.
That's
Okay.
right.
Things are happening so fast now. For all we know, people may be able to dematerialize. I mean, who knows? Who knows?
Exactly.
They say that they'll be flying individually. That they're going to need police. Space police officers, space
Oh,
officers, because people will be flying around individually in space, and you're going to need android counselors to know how to get along with the robots and relationship with
oh,
robots. It's like it's very interesting what they're saying you're going to need in the future.
wow.
So parents can't. How can you prepare a child for that? You don't know what it's going to be, and change is happening so fast now. But you can examine their gifts and talents and raise them by their gifts and talents, and
Mhm.
therefore, whatever the life presents forward, they have the talents and the wherewithal to find gainful employment, to use their
Mhm.
gifts and talents in an entrepreneurial way to make themselves successful. Yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. Do you have a program that works with parents?
Yeah, well, our programs work with all levels of individuals because it's a universal knowledge that we're giving. So self awareness is available and helpful for preschoolers, for high school kids, for college children, for youth, for senior citizens. It's the whole gamut because I
Right.
don't think we ever, the human being is so deep and so many aspects to us as to who we are that the deeper you go, the deeper you learn you are. So it
Mhm.
never stops. It never ends. So the deeper you go, the higher your consciousness raises, the higher your vibration, and therefore, in many ways, the stronger your power. If you want to get powerful and understand the superpower, the natural energy that you have, and use it in an impactful way, it's about being
Mhm.
stepping into your authentic energy.
Yeah. I remember playing the Masquerade game.
Yeah.
I
That's
love that game.
yeah, yes, yes. That was one of the
I
games.
love the poem.
Mhm.
Yes. Can you share the poem, a little bit of it?
Oh, I love to share my poem, The Masquerade. This is a poem that I wrote when I was 28 years old, when I realized that people were wearing masks and people were not being their authentic self. They were being something else, they were living a false life, living a manufactured life, and not allowing their true self to come forward. So it's called The Masquerade, and it asks, have you ever been to a masquerade to see the parade of people playing people? What a charade! How can you go to a masquerade if you do not know your role or soul? It's paradoxical, but they hide so well. Watch the parade. There they go, each playing their role, dealing with their soul so paradoxically. The Messiah, the Pope, the Lord of dreams and hope, who walks and talks in circles. He really sees reality, afraid of its dichotomy. He wastes his life on dope. Madame Mastermind, goddess of womankind, her only hope a man to find. As far as anyone can see, fares well with life's reality, but drinks her life away. Squire of looks and a dresser, open pockets, true aggressor. Objective, not to be the lesser, dealing with reality by working life away. Insecure and nervous lady. Appearances are often shaky. Reality's a little hazy. She seriously finds it crazy. She smokes her life away. Mind maker, memory machine, Christ of creativity through Christianity, political machinery. Frustrated by reality, he prays his life away. Angel of sunlight, ministry's delight, always does just what's right, lives in her own reality, and with its ambiguity, she spends her life in flight. The chanters, the gossip gabbers, the dichotomous monotony don't even know reality. They do not feel, they do not see, they do not care, they will not be. They are life's reality. Robot their lives away.
Mhm.
Who finds peace? Those who cannot see or those who want to be able to deal with life's reality? Who is free from life's reality? The dichotomous monotony or those who in their soul can see what reality can be? How did we get this masquerade, this parade of people playing people, this charade of life's reality? So
I
authenticity
love
is
it.
what life can be. And I spent my life answering the question, how did we get this masquerade? This parade of people playing people, this charade of life's reality. And so my anecdote to the charade and the parade is authenticity, being your authentic self.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's so, it's so clever.
Mhm.
Um, Yet there's so much reality in it. Like you can visualize each one of the characters as you speak. It's like, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Well, the characters are people that I met. I had gone down to, driven from Detroit to Florida to take a master's program. And people I met were the people that I wrote about because I was down there at a time when I was in my early 20s, very young and impressionable with my view of what the world is like, having been raised in a very sheltered environment by my parents. And, the rose colored eyes and seeing that there's not a lot of rose colors in here. People are not being who they are. I could see right through them. So that's been
Mm-hmm.
my life's journey to why is it like that, and understanding how society manufactures us to be that way. So
Mm-hmm. It's
yeah,
interesting because allowing yourself to be vulnerable and open and all of that is often called transparent, being transparent. But
yes,
then
it
people
is.
take it to another level where it's inauthentic, it's fake, and it's a masquerade ball. And then with the proper sight, you can see through all of that to where they truly live and who they truly are,
Yes, yeah, but
or that they don't know
that
a
they
lot
don't
of
know.
times.
Most people
Yeah.
don't know. Most people don't
Yeah.
know because no one teaches it. It's you don't need to learn it in school. You don't learn it in church. You learn who you are oftentimes from the peers in elementary school and how they treat you or how your
Hmm.
parents see you or how your parents want you to be. So that's how we learn who we are. And then we learn by default. And then we get to be an adult and realize that the values we were raised on are not the values that are necessarily our own. Sometimes they are, but most of the times they're not.
Hmm.
For
Yeah.
somebody else. Yeah.
Yeah. And then that then leads more to that confusing and people ending up in places where they're unhappy, and it's a vicious cycle.
Yes. Yeah.
You
And most people get a little unhappy along the way. They have to shift their path because
know?
you go into life with the ideas, like that there's a Santa Claus and that Cinderella's slippers are going to show up for you, and Prince Charming's going to come and sweep you off your
Right.
feet, and like I have a little godson that I just met recently, and he told me how he's going to be a millionaire in 6 months, and stuff like that. You live in these fantasies, and you don't really have a grasp on the real
Mm,
reality that you're dealing with on the planet. So.
yeah.
Mhm.
So, Norma, you're familiar with The Secret,
Yes, yes.
right? Right. So, how would you connect, or can you connect authenticity to The Secret?
Well, I connected from the standpoint of the law of attraction, because the secret
Hmm.
talks a lot about the law of attraction. So, how
Right.
does the law of attraction to work for you? The law of attraction, in my mind, works when you're working with the universe. Okay, people will often say, "God's with me." My question is always, are you with God? Who's the architect? We're not the architects, maybe of our own lives, but not of our purpose and our mission and what it is we're supposed to do and how that's supposed to work. So to me, authenticity occurs when there is the intersection of the tangible and the intangible. When synchronicities happen in your life all the time, that's when
Hmm.
you know authenticity is in your life. You're living authentically because the universe is working. You're working with you. You're working with the universe. The universe recognizes it. The universe rewards you by these synchronistic things that happen. Look like miracles, but they happen because you have paid the price, been on the journey, willing to accept and to listen to the inner voice that's speaking to you. To me, authenticity begins in the inner voice, in the voice that speaks to you. We all have our own personal inner voice, and
Hmm.
that's where it all begins.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And don't you agree that sometimes, when in Christianity, we have all these principles, right? All of the principles that you're talking about. But when people are approached with things like the laws of attraction and The Secret and that sort of thing, they run from it. They think it's blasphemous or those kinds of things, but it's actually exactly what the Bible teaches.
It
Plans to
is.
prosper you and not to harm you, to give you a hope and a future. You have not because you ask not, and all of those things. And so I think it's interesting that people who are shying away from those things believe that they are being authentically connected to God, but they're actually rejecting
Mhm.
some of what God says and therefore not living authentically, because I think that we all have this idea of wanting good in our lives, wanting to do well in our lives, wanting success in our lives, wanting love in our lives, and all of those things. And God talks about manifestation. And so we don't do that often as Christians because we think that we are like sort of cheating on God or something like that, right? At least that's the way I see it. But then that's not living authentically according to that.
Right. Well, the whole thing of God is so interesting how people uh, use it or work it. In my view, God is an experience. It's not something that you read about and then know. It's something that you live and you experience. If God is in your life, you feel God. You feel the experience of having a relationship with God. It's
Mhm.
not you have to go read it. I remember I met someone, oh, I know, 15, 20 years ago when I was finished writing my program, was just starting to get out there in the world. And her only question to me was, is my program scripture based? Well, I'm not sure what that means. Do you mean did I go find scriptures first and then write it? Do you mean did I write it and then see if the Bible, has scriptures to verify it? I mean, I can
Mhm.
show you lots of scriptures where, it's verified, there's a relationship to it. But no, I didn't go to the Bible and use that as a reference point to write the program. It was channeled through me. It was received in a way that I know I didn't do that by myself. There was some
Mhm.
other energies that
Yes.
came to play to make that happen. How all that works, I don't know exactly. I did a lot of research on it over the years because I recognized that as a part of my essence when I was very young. And I wanted to get, and my parents didn't help me with that. So I had to do my own research on that. And I ended up calling that authenticity from what I learned about myself and others. But it was an experience. I didn't go read. I remember when I worked for the Catholic Church for a short time, and my job was in the early childhood area. That's what my degree is in, to help the catechists, the ones that were teaching, know how to work with preschoolers, because it's different than working with elementary school children.
Right.
I remember two things that I remember being told. One is that my job was not to get people to think, but my job was to tell them what to think.
Ooh.
Really? And the other,
Ooh.
yeah, yeah, okay. And the other thing that I was told was that my view of God was too broad for the Catholic Church. And I said, doesn't Catholic mean universal? So I told, my view to me was that you were making God all very complicated. You got
Mm.
to go through all these hoops to get to God, and all you really, in my mind, you got to do is feel it, and and move on from there, and just feel it and
Mhm.
get aligned with that feeling, and find out how it works for you. But to me, they just complicated with all the rules and all the things. But um, God is a feeling. I have a little Chinese friend that I met when I taught in China 3 years ago, and she wanted to come to the United States, which is where she is now. And one of the things she mentioned is how difficult it is to go to church in China, and she wanted to go to church. So I took her to three black churches one Sunday, and first time she said one of them, she said, I feel it. Oh, I feel it. Because it's a feeling. You can do all the intellectualizing you want. But if you don't feel it, it's just like love. You can read about love. But until you feel it, you
That's
don't
right.
really know what it is. And the same thing with
Mhm.
God, from my perspective. You can read all you want. but it's a feeling. It's an experience, and experiences
Right.
are yeah.
And the reading and the rules becomes very like Pharisees, right? They did all the rules, but they held to all of the rules, but they did nothing from the heart, nothing
Yeah,
that was connected to what God was actually about and who
yeah,
he, what he represented. And
right.
so I think that when you find your authentic self, I think I'm hearing you say that you are connected with your God.
You're connected. Yeah, you're
Yes,
connected. You're
yes.
connected with that source. We try to make ourselves so powerful as human beings, but
Hmm.
we're not powerful enough to make a baby. Oh, sure. I mean, we get together and we have a little fun, and the baby comes out 9 months later. But you didn't make it.
Right.
You, you didn't make it. So you just went through the motions that allowed it to be made. But we don't have the power to do that. We don't have the power to create life,
Mhm.
from scratch. I mean, other than to participate in the process that the architect has
Right,
put. So it's a
right.
matter of perspective. So how does the architect work? We don't know exactly, but we do know that you can feel the architect. Like Dell said, my Chinese girl, I feel it. I feel it. Like many of us do. Like when we go through experiences and we feel just so joyful and happy
Mhm.
and acknowledge it and get thankful when that happens. So all of those things are, it's part of authenticity. It's a part of recognizing the it's part of being a catalyst for recognizing the humanity in us. When I
Mm.
talked about future jobs, one of the things they say we're going to need in the future is organizations to teach us or remind us what it's like to be human. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Can you
Oh my
imagine?
God.
So that's what the work that I do in many ways is to teach what it's like to be human. Because as my poem, The Masquerade, said when I was 28 years old, people are roboting their lives away. And a manufactured life is a robotic life. And you have
Mm.
artificial intelligence now being robots. And so all those things are coming to true in some way. So what do we do as compassionate, authentic human beings to help the world stay with humanity and not let us robot our lives away?
Mhm. And it's so interesting how you're learning these things about what the future will look like.
Hmm.
And, even I think back to when, we were in school and read 1984, right?
Yeah.
In 1967 or whatever it
Many
was
years ago, before
that I
that,
read that.
we
Yeah.
could hear, yeah.
I guess that was junior high, maybe, I think. And so maybe it was 70, but at any rate, we thought, this is so forward thinking, this is so futuristic. And then 1984 came and went, and life continued to build on itself, and technology continued to build on itself, and thought processes continue to build, and now here we are in 2021.
Almost 22.
And we're being reminded that we are just human beings,
We're just
right?
right. We're
And
just
that no matter that we can do all these things, and God has given us all this knowledge, and we have been able to do some amazing things that look like magic, we still are not in control.
we're not in control. We're not in control.
Yes, I
Reminded of
love
that a lot in my life. They say you make plans and God laughs at you.
it.
So
Right.
God, he doesn't. I make plans. Not only do I get laughed at, I get beat down. I fall and break a arm or break a leg, and I'm moving too fast. Slow down.
Yes,
You're moving. You're not where I want you to be. So just take a break. Slow down. So
yes.
that's been my
I
hardest
think
thing.
you and I have that in common, Norma. That we have to hear, be like, Shauna Ray, it's Shauna Ray. Hey, Shauna Ray. Shauna Ray!
And which one am I talking to right now? As a matter of fact. So yeah.
uh,
And which Sean Ray am I talking to right now? Which
right,
energy
right.
is prevalent right now? Yeah.
Exactly. To be authentic, I actually went to the hospital this morning. Uh, so I'm fine.
You're
I'm
fine.
doing well. But I think it was just, hey girl, I need your attention. I need
Hmm.
your attention. And that happens to me. It always everything manifests through my body, because I think my brain doesn't necessarily connect with the slower pace and the idea of there are things to do that don't have to do with you doing it and running and doing it. And and I get it for a while, and then I forget, and I get the tap on the forehead. You,
Well, as
you
long
know.
as you respond before you get the punch in the forehead, that's the main
Yes, well,
thing.
there you go. Right, right. I tell you, it is
Yeah.
so true. But I think that when when I think about like all the things that have, kind of manifested in my life that have brought me to this place, it's like there's so many lessons. And I think those lessons are how I get to be authentically Sean LeRae now,
Yeah.
you know? So,
Yeah.
yeah. And thanks to you, indeed.
Thank you.
So,
And then
Norma,
uh,
oh, go ahead.
I was going to share something else with your audience that might help with anxiety that you feel a lot in life, and particularly the anxiety we feel when we're young and we feel we're supposed to be so successful so early in our lives.
Mm.
But the New England Journal of Medicine did a research study about the most productive decade of human life. And they found, and it may surprise many of you, that the most productive decade of human life is 60 to 70. The second most productive is 70 to 80, and the third, 50 to 60, and the fourth, 80 to 90. So anything before 50 is you're just practicing. So, and then when you don't really you don't really know and understand what it's really all about till you get to be about 60 or 70. That's how long it really takes to really figure out,
Mm.
to be without anxiety, to be comfortable in your skin, be fully authentic. Some people get there earlier, but most people don't get there to 60 or 70. So the main thing with that message is just to chill and
Yeah,
don't
just
don't let
keep living.
keep in. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's so funny you say that, because at 50 is when I went back to school
Mm-hmm.
to become a therapist and do what I'm doing now. And this is where I fit.
Mm-hmm.
I tried to fit into so many other holes,
Mm-hmm.
or, and I was a square peg
Yes.
that they were
Yeah.
trying to stick in this round hole, and it just wasn't happening.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, well, not all of a sudden, huh? Then over the journey,
Over the job. Yeah. Yeah.
um, at 50, it started to make sense. My whole life started to make sense. And even now, and I'm 61, and now I feel like I'm in my groove and I'm loving it. I'm really loving it. Even, even in the space of having lost my life partner, right at the time when I could feel the groove coming. I still feel his spirit and I feel his energy, and knowing that, that he's riding this wave with me. But I sometimes don't realize that it's hurting in a way that I may not see, and then my body feels it. So I think that that's my authentic truth about that.
I went through that too. When my husband was murdered, it's been 6 years
Yes.
since that happened, and it really takes a while to get past the grief. The main thing I would say to you is allow yourself to grieve. When Robert was murdered, I put it all on a spiritual plane, but when Christmas came, it was really down at right in my face, and that's when I really grieved the most. And I allowed myself to grieve for 3 more months. He was murdered in June, so I told myself by the time April 1st comes around, you got to stop because life goes
Mhm.
on. You got stuff to do. And so that's what I did. I allowed myself to grieve and go as deep as I wanted into it in the first 3 months, or those 3 months of that year. And then March 31st, I said, well, get back in the world, girl. Life goes
Yeah.
on. So, it
Yeah.
still bothers, every now and then you'll hear a song, or a memory or something will happen and it'll come back. But it's less and less over time. And you
Yeah.
also begin to understand your growth from it because
Mhm.
experience, has a growth element related to it. So when you see that, then you really heal in a whole different way.
Yeah. I can't believe that. Well, December obviously, is difficult because it's y'all birthday.
Okay,
uh,
that's what same birthday. Yeah, December 4th.
Yes, Norma and William had the same birthday,
That's right.
and we got to celebrate together.
Yes, we did. Yeah.
And that was a great party.
Great party. Yes, it was. We still remember it. It's been 3 years.
Yes,
We still
yes.
remember it. It's a great
So,
party.
of
Yeah.
course, that's coming, and our anniversary is the 19th of December.
Uh-huh.
So, yeah,
Then
and then
Christmas, of
Christmas.
course. Yeah, and
Yeah.
then New Year's. So that you got it packed in. So what are you
Yeah.
going to do? What are you going to do to keep yourself? Um,
Well, my cousin's here, with me, and so we are going to get a tree, and we're going to decorate, and she's going to cook, and I might help.
at least you're being authentic.
Yeah, I might help. I usually get in the way. But we're going to try to do some things that, we were also thinking about maybe going to Santa Barbara, because
Oh,
that was
nice.
a place that William and I loved, and so maybe just going away and spend some time just celebrating the things that he loved to do, because that actually brings me joy. you know
And
when I
when did he
think
go?
about
When was his passing date? When did he go? I don't remember.
it's February 2nd, so it's
Not quite a year. Okay.
yeah, so it's, but I can't believe it's so close to a year because it feels like yesterday still,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
For a while.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then of course February, there's Valentine's Day, and then my birthday, so I got right away, you know
Yeah.
but
The first one's always first year is always the hardest one. So,
yeah.
but you're doing remarkably well. I'm very proud of you. You're doing
Thank
well
you.
from what I
Thank you.
can see. From what I can
Yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah, but then I go to the hospital every now and then.
You got to show up some way. I get it. I get it. I
It
get it.
does. It's
Well,
crazy.
after Robert died, I had kidney stones in both kidneys, so I had to have major kidney stones. And then he couldn't even get them out. I have to have double surgery for
Oh
that
goodness.
because it was really embedded. But that's kidney stones metaphysically are removing emotional stuff. So
Wow.
it was a cleansing. I had stones after my parents died, and then again after Robert died. So it was just
Really?
yeah, yeah,
Oh, that's so interesting.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your body, I've had 13 surgeries, and every single one of them had a metaphysical meaning to it. Every single one. So
Mm-hmm.
I believe very much that's part of the
Yeah.
way it works. Mhm.
13. Wow. Was that the ears too?
I've had ear surgery 3 times. I think it's three. The last one was just 3 years ago when it finally healed. And then
Oh.
I've had female surgery twice, two things down there. I've had my thumbnail removed twice. They thought it was cancer underneath it. I've had
Mm,
kidney stone surgery 3 times. And then a
wow.
deviated septum. My nose was crooked. Most of my issues have been anatomical. So they're just, something that needs to be corrected a little bit. It was not
Right.
nothing major, praise God. It's been
Yeah.
lots of them, but I think a lot of it's because I took antibiotics for 40 years for my ear infections. And I
That's
think,
right.
yeah, yeah. So, but,
Yeah.
it's made me very aware, and the thing I also want to share with your audience is that so much is about the story you tell yourself and tell others. Because
Yeah.
my story used to be, oh, when I was 8, I had all this pain. I had this holding my eardrum. I had earaches all the time, and it was just horrible. And now my story is, when I was 8, I had this problem with my ear, and it caused me to learn how to really listen to my inner voice. And
Yes.
and that's been my gift. That's been what I
Mhm.
brought to the world. How to listen.
Truly.
So you
Truly.
never know. You never know your experiences and what they might lead to later.
And you have to be still and listen to get those messages that this is your story,
But
right?
most people don't. We don't teach how to
Right.
reflect. We teach how to go within, which is what I teach in my programs and my help people
Hmm.
learn how to reflect. I give them guided reflective activities to do so that they end up, because you can make your own decisions about how to change your life if you know how to reflect what to think about and how to apply what you're thinking about, what you're hearing and receiving.
Hmm.
So that's definitely possible.
I
A lot of
love
people
that.
don't know. Yeah.
Well, Norma, we're getting close to the end. I want you to share about your books, because I know that you're multiple, I don't know if this is a thing, but multiple author, an author of multiple books. That's what I'm trying to say.
That's right. Well, I don't only write books. I also write programs, and so my most popular books is 10 Steps to Authenticity, which is the first one that I was not the first, the second one that I wrote, and this one talks about my 30 years of research into authenticity and my assessment. But I would like to invite your audience to go to giftsfromnorma.com, GIFTS plural, giftsfromnorma.com. And what you will find is a link to take my authenticity assessment. That's the power of the work that I do, this assessment that I created. It's just 9 questions. And when you answer those questions, you get a different type of view of yourself. And then once you finish answering them, you get an invitation to go a little bit more. We have weekly calls we do every Tuesday where we talk about authenticity, and we have a group of people that want to be more authentic, and you learn how other people live their life. Everyone that's been in my programs says that that's the most valuable thing for them, to meet other people and hear their stories and learn how to live authentically. And you have an invitation for 4 weeks to participate with us and learn what that's about. And I have other programs that will certify you to be an authenticity coach, that will certify you to be a facilitator. That's a new role that we're doing. We're taking authenticity into corporate America for diversity and inclusion and some other things. So I've got a number of different ways that I have taken one little concept of authenticity and turned it into multiple things. And that's what all of you have, something like that. I just learned how to do it and have done it and took the time and the sacrifice to make it happen. But we're all given certain gifts and talents for what it is we're to do in the world.
Absolutely.
So I certainly encourage people to connect with their gifts and talents and do it.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
that is when you're living authentically.
Yes. Yes.
I love Norma's books and programs. I have several of your books, and then of course, I still have my speaker bureau packet.
Yes.
Uh,
This is
and
the process
let's
of becoming
see,
a successful speaker. Yes.
yes, and
That's
uh, I have some of the books, and then of course, I was in one of the couple of your programs.
yes. You have.
So I definitely have had the gift of learning from you, and it's been amazing, and I love it. And
Thank you.
so take a look there on the screen, giftsfromnorma.com. Take the authenticity assessment, and then look further, and perhaps you find yourself in one of Norma's amazing classes.
Yes.
So,
When
Norma, where else is that the best place for people to find you?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn, Norma Hollis, or you can also go to, well, actually, when you go to Gifts from Norma, you'll see my email address there, and you can certainly reach out to me there. But I would suggest LinkedIn or giftsfromnorma.com. Now, I also started a TV show that I'll be promoting, not really promoting it yet, quite yet, because we're in beta, but it's on Wednesdays at 2 o'clock. And you can go to winwinwomen.com, WINWIN women.com, and
Okay,
click the
WINWIN women.
.com. Yes.
Okay.
And check out the show. It's at 2 o'clock on Wednesdays. And this is an organization of all women, global women, who are seeking to impact the 3.9 billion women on the planet. So we want the women on the eastern side of the world to learn a lot from the Western women who have a little bit more freedom, I'm told, and a little bit more opportunity, so that we can share what we've learned so that other women can expand their lives as well.
I
So
love it.
I encourage you to check out winwinwomen.com and check out my show or any of the other shows that are on there. And check me
There.
out on LinkedIn and take my assessment, and I'd love to teach people more. I do a lot of free events, 5-day challenge that we do every year. We do some summits and a lot of different programs to help you become more authentic. So many of them are free, but some of them are also paid. So wherever you're at or however deep you want to go into your consciousness, into your authenticity, into your unseen supporters, and really connecting with the existential part of life, I'd be happy to take you deeper, take you there.
I
So
love that. Unseen supporters.
unseen supporters.
I
So that's
like that.
yeah, yeah. So they're all
That's
around us. We don't see
you.
them. Huh?
That
It's like
those are the are those people outside of you, or are they inside of you, or
I think
both?
I think they're both. They're both. So you have the outsider ones like William, who who you say you're still connected. So,
Yes.
so his energy is still around you in some ways. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when Robert died, people told me that I had a new glow. It was like he jumped in me. So in a sense,
Yeah.
and just that
I've heard that too. Yeah.
yeah, yes. And then
Yeah.
the voice that we hear that no one speaks to us, the inner voice that we each have, that's you talking to you. So whether that is an unseen supporter or an energy or God, I don't know. But
Mm,
I just call it all unseen supporters. Because it's energies that
I
we
like
can't
it.
see, we can't touch it in the same way, but we sure can feel it if we choose to.
I love that. I love that. Well,
Yeah.
Norma, it's been such a pleasure having you. Again, you all please go to the social media links that we have put in the chat and connect with Norma. And also want to invite you women to the Black Women's Network meeting on the second Saturday of this month, December the 11th. We were going to be in person, however, we have decided with Mr. Omicron joining us here in Los Angeles, the new variant, that it's probably wiser for us to remain virtual until sometime next year. But it's still going to be action packed, fun filled with vendors and entertainment. And we are going to celebrate uh, fine and fun. and and then also you can follow me on Living Loved Pathways to Holistic Healing, or at Living Loved Healing on Instagram and Facebook. And my YouTube channel is Boss Talk LA. And I thank you all for joining us. And please join me in thanking my guests one more time. Norma Hollis on Boss Talk, a bold, one of a kind, sensational superstar. Thank you, Norma.
Take what is on the right.
And we'll say good night.
Good night,
Good
everyone. Thank you.
night.